In this video, I'm going to teach you exactly how to scale Facebook ads in 2025. I'm going to show you what things to look out for inside of your ad account so you know when it's time to scale. I'm going to teach you how to make decisions in the account every single day on whether or not you should increase or decrease budgets, which is the exact framework that I've used over the last 6 years to generate over $100 million in advertising revenue and help brands like you see on screen make that jump from $70K a month to $915,000 a month. And lastly, I'm even at the end of this video going to give you a template that teaches you how to set targets as you're scaling that are actually going to tell you whether or not you are profitable. So make sure you stick around until the end, and without wasting any more time, let's jump straight into the video. For those of you that are new to the channel, my name is Anthony. I've been a senior e-com strategist over the last 6 years, and I've helped brands generate over $100 million in advertising revenue using Facebook and Google ads. So let's dive into the video. And again, this was a brand starting with our case study that we scaled from $70K a month, and we helped them make a tremendous jump to $915,000 in a single month. And we even had a day here where we actually did more revenue in a single day than they had done in a single month earlier that year. So how did we actually do this, and how do we decide to scale Facebook ads? So it's a very simple process to scale Facebook ads in 2025, especially if you're using the right account structure. So this is a screenshot from from this brand's actual ad account. And as you can see, we did most of the scaling, or pretty much all of the scaling, inside of a single campaign. So as you can see with this campaign here, we started off in 1 month at 78,000, and then we tripled or increased the ad spend by 300%, all the way up to $323,000 in a single month. So we tripled the ad spend through one single campaign. And that might freak you out if you are not used to running ads in one campaign. But as you'll see down here at the bottom, we actually saw a 260% increase in total conversions through Meta. And we also saw a 225% increase in conversions through or conversion value. Now, you might be looking at this and thinking, okay, so you increased the ad spend 300%, but you only generated 200% increase in conversion value. So did you actually make any money? And was this profitable in scaling? Because it looks like you lost out on some return on ad spend. And that's one of the biggest fears that I encounter when working with brands who are in that low 5-figure to middle 6-figure range, is they're very, very scared of losing out on ROAS or seeing the ROAS drop as they scale. And it's because they fundamentally misunderstand what scaling is and how to actually read when it's the right time to scale, because return on ad spend as you scale, to be honest, does not matter. And really quickly, before we dive into the actual tactics, I want to first define scaling so that way we are speaking the same language. And when I refer to scaling, you know exactly what I'm talking about and you understand what scaling actually is. So for scaling, growth stage brands that are anywhere from $1 million to $5 million a year that are bootstrapped, which means no outside funding, 99% of the time when you say you want to scale, that means you want more profit in the bank account. Now, for funded brands, that might mean maximum new customer acquisition as much as possible, which means they're okay with stomaching a loss on first-time customers. But for the majority of brands, and I would say you watching this video, if you are a brand that's doing over 100K a month and you want to scale, typically that's because you want more profit in your bank account. So we can then define scaling as increasing the volume of our ROI. So the return on investment, not the return on ad spend. So we don't want to increase the fraction or ratio between revenue and ad spend. We want to increase how much money we make from our ad spend. And that's ROI, not ROAS. So the effectiveness of our increase in ad spend should be directly measured by how much incremental volume of profit we generate. So therefore, our decisions should be informed by the volume of profit, not the return on ad spend. And if you've attempted scaling in the past and reduced the budget back down, then it's likely that you're fixated on what's happening to your ROAS and not your volume of profit. So tell me if this sounds familiar. You go into your account one day, you're looking at the last 7 days or last 14 days, performance is great, you're clocking in at a 3+ return on ad spend, ROAS is the highest it's ever been. You go to increase the budget, and the next day it feels like it falls off a cliff. You are scared, you want to pull back that budget, but you know you shouldn't, so you leave it on for a couple more days, and the return on ad spend still isn't increasing to the levels that you had prior. And the temptation there, and what you probably have done in the past, is lower the budget back down so you can increase your return on ad spend. And we'll get into why exactly that is exactly what you do not want to do, because you're missing out probably on tons of profit. So now that we've kind of defined what scaling is, let's get into actually how to set targets and how to actually be able to look at scale through the lens of the volume of profit instead of return on ad spend. So shout out to my boy Nick Terrio for creating this, basically an advertising calculator. And I'm going to use this as an example to demonstrate why return on ad spend does not matter and what I look for in the account as I'm scaling and what I think you should be looking out in the account for as well. So basically, this is a sheet that allows us to calculate what our break-even return on ad spend and break-even CPA is at a given ad spend based on our average order value, our cost of goods, and our shipping and handling. So in other words, our gross profit. So as you can see here in this example, we have a $60 average order value, cost of goods of $15, which gives us a landed cost on that AOV of $15, assuming that our shipping and handling is free. But let's say our shipping and handling is actually, let's just say it's actually zero, okay? And then from there, we get our calculated gross profit on that AOV. So if our average order value is $60 and our cost of goods is 15, assuming shipping of zero, we get a $45 gross profit and a 75% gross profit margin. This then sets the calculated gross break-even CPA at $45, which means we can spend up to $45 to acquire a customer before we dip into the red. And then our initial calculated gross break-even ROAS is a 1.33. Now, as you can see, we use this section on the right here to give us basically 5 different scenarios that tell us what happens based on, or how much profit we stand to generate based on what our return on ad spend is, and based on our ad spend and based on our gross margins. So we can see in this example, if in scenario 1, our current break-even ROAS is a 1.33. So at a 1.33 return on ad spend, if we spend $24,000 at a 75% gross margin, that leaves us with $31K in revenue, with $7,900 in COGS and shipping and handling. And that leaves us with a day one profit of $60, or in other words, break even. So this scenario is basically the minimum floor that you want your performance to be, assuming that you're spending $25,000. Okay, so scenarios 2, 3, 4, and 5 are going to help us understand why return on ad spend does not matter as you actually start to scale. So let's take a look here at scenario 2. So in scenario 2, we've bumped our budget up to $50K. Our return on ad spend is a 2.0. Our gross margin stays the exact same because we're not doing any heavy discounting or any sales. We're just increasing volume. And as you can see, we make $25K in profit. Cool. This is also excluding the impact that all these new customers are going to have over the next 6 months, assuming they come back and purchase again and that you have a solid business model. So we're going to exclude even looking at our 6-month customer value, and we're going to focus on how much profit we make on day one of those customers, or in other words, on the first purchase. So in scenario 3, let's take a look at what happens. We're scaling our budget by 200%. We're going from 50 to 100K, or rather 100%. We're going from 50 to 100K. Our return on ad spend, a very common scenario is that as you scale, your return on ad spend is going to drop, or your MER or efficiency is going to drop. So we went from a 2 to a 1.75. But assuming the gross margin stays the same, which it should, we generate $175,000 in revenue with a total cost of goods and shipping and handling at $43K. And that leaves us with $31,000 in total profit. And as you can see, we actually made more volume of profit on day one on those customers at a 1.75 return on ad spend than we did on a 2 return on ad spend. Interesting. And again, this is excluding the impact that the volume of those new customers coming into the funnel and the volume of profit that we stand to make over those customers over the next 6 months. So not only are we making more profit at a worse return on ad spend, we're getting over 1,000 new customers acquired into the funnel. And let's say you have a 30% retention rate or a 30% returning customer rate. Now you're taking, instead of 30% of 1,600, you're taking 30% of almost 3,000. You're almost doubling the amount of return customer volume that you're going to get simply by increasing your ad budget, even if you are getting a worse return on ad spend. So as you scale, if you're using this scenario modeling correctly, you can set targets that will allow you to scale even as your return on ad spend in the ad account suffers, while you make more day one profit, number one, and number two, you actually make more profit in the long term on those customers as they come back and buy again. And this carries on as you start to increase ad spend. The more you increase ad spend, the worse your efficiency can be because you can stomach the loss in efficiency and offset it with more volume. So scenario 4 shows us that if we go from 100K to 150K, and at this point, we've gone from 50 to 150K in budget, we're now making an additional about 4K in day one profit. And we're actually increasing our total customers again by over 1,000. And then over the long term, we're actually making way more customer value and profit. Right, so I just had to clean up one of these calculations because the 6-month LTV should not have been 45. So I actually bumped it up to 75 bucks. So assuming first order is 60 bucks and then our 6-month LTV is 75. As you can see, we're making way more profit on the 6-month customer value journey compared to scenario 2 looking against scenario 4. And then in the most extreme example, if we increase to 200,000, we are at 1.6 return on ad spend. We're making 5K more in profit. And again, we're making way more profit over the long term on these customers because the total volume of customers acquired is going up. And again, look, we've been able to basically quadruple our ad budget and go from 50 to 200K, making more profit at a worse efficiency. We've gone from a 2 to a 1.6, but we're making 15K more in day one profit and almost 50K more in actual 6-month customer value profit. So the way to actually set targets to scale is to set new targets at every incremental level of spend that you plan to make that correlate with either an increase in day one profit or an increase in 6-month or 3-month customer value profit. Whatever your goals for the business are, ideally you're setting them against day one profit because that's the safest bet. So basically, you want to set targets, at 50K in spend, you want to hit, for this example, you want to hit a 3 MER. At 100K, I want to hit a 2.5. At 150, I want to set a 2.2. At 200, I want to set a 2.0. And this is a very rudimentary, basic example. And there's way more complicated and nuanced ways to set actual new customer CPA and return on ad spend targets. But this is a very rudimentary example to hopefully break you out of the mindset of needing to set, having a fixed return on ad spend goal, because you really should not have just one ROAS target at every single spend level, because simply, number one, it's not sustainable and you'll never hit those return on ad spend goals unless you are just one of those 9-figure unicorn brands. And number two, you'll make way more money and you'll be able to scale much further and a lot easier if you set these sort of dynamic targets at every incremental level of spend. All right, so your homework for after watching this video is to download this sheet. It should be linked in the description below, and to start messing around with the different scenarios. If you know you want to scale to a certain revenue level, start to input your numbers here in this section here. Add in your average order value, your cost of goods, your shipping and handling, so you can figure out what your break-even new customer ROAS and break-even CPA are, and then start to forecast scenarios to spend levels that you are thinking of wanting to get to. So if you know you want to get to, like in this circumstance, let's say you want to be at 100K in revenue and you have about 50K in budget, you're going to need at least a 2 return on ad spend, and map out your scaling targets for the next 3 months, 6 months using this scenario sheet. And ideally by the end of you mapping them out, you should have something that looks like this, to where you can give this to your media buyer or even to yourself and say, okay, so long as I'm increasing budget, I need to make sure that I'm adjusting the MER target that I'm shooting for as I increase spend. But as long as I'm hitting that target, I can theoretically just continue increasing spend for as long as I want. And once you actually have your targets, scaling, like the literal, like in the ad account, becomes super duper easy. And again, this is exactly how we were able to scale this brand from 70K to 915K through this one singular campaign, was by using this framework that I'm about to show you right now. And it's so easy. So every single day you come in, you check if yesterday's CPA is hitting your target. If you are hitting target, and you can also look at MER or new customer ROAS. But if any of your targets are being met, whether that's new customer ROAS, new customer CPA, in other words, as long as the account is doing what you want it to do and producing the outcome that you want, scale it by 20%. And this is what you check every single day. So every single day, you're increasing that budget by 20%, so long as your campaign and account is producing the outcome that you want. Very simple. So every single day, you come in, you check, okay, yesterday's performance is good, scale by 20%, and you're done. That seems very aggressive, but if you want to be aggressive, that is as aggressive as you can be with this strategy. The common misconception that you can't be aggressive with one campaign, total farce. Now, if you come in and check yesterday's CPA is not at the target, all you're going to do is check if the last 3 days are at target. You basically want to see if yesterday's data is an anomaly or if it is a trend point in a larger downtrend over the last 3 days. So if you check the last 3 days and you are not at target, or let's say if you are at target, you're not going to touch the campaign, and instead you're going to put the focus on launching new creatives, or you could just not touch the campaign totally as well. If you check the last 2 days and you are not at target, you're going to check if the MER is profitable. If the MER is profitable, or if the business is profitable, do not touch. We do not care what the ad account says. Remember, attribution is just telling you, and it's basically telling you what campaigns deserve credit or where Meta thinks the campaigns should get credit. but it doesn't actually tell you like how much profit you're making. So if you're profitable, if there's money being, what's the word? There we go. If there's money being deposited into your bank account, it doesn't matter what the attribution in Facebook says. We don't care about that. We care about, are you making more profit? So if you are profitable, don't touch. You can put the focus on launching new creatives, but honestly, you could just leave the campaign. Now, if you're not profitable over a 3 to 7 day period, over a larger trend, that is the only time you will actually lower the budget by 20%. And you can repeat this process every single day, lowering by 20% until you recoup profitability and the campaign performance starts to go back up. All the while, you should be testing new creatives to be able to get better performance. So that is going to do it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed. And again, by the end of this video, I was hoping that you would be able to know exactly how to scale Facebook ads in 2025. It's the exact system that I used, or strategy that I used, to scale this brand from 70K to 915K. So it all starts with understanding your finances, knowing actually what your break-even profit targets or what your break-even targets are, and then setting incremental targets at every incremental level of spend. So the target setting needs to be dynamic. So, you know, as you increase spend, your efficiency targets can actually drop. You need to map out those targets over, you know, at least 4x incremental spend. So from 50K to 200K, you should know exactly what your MER target needs to be, or performance needs to be in the account. And that's going to give you the confidence to actually scale the account very, very easily. And when it comes to actually scaling, once you have, you know, set those targets that are based on profit, all you have to do is come in, change the budget. And if you have a consolidated one campaign setup, it becomes very, very easy. You increase the account spend by 20% if every day is good. If it's bad, check the last 3 days. If you're profitable, don't touch. If you're not profitable, then lower by 20%. So that is exactly how I scale Facebook ads in 2025. It's exactly what I help brands do. If you're interested in having me run your ads and scale your ad account for you and helping you achieve results like these on screen, then check out the first link in the description below. Otherwise, I hope you got a ton of value out of this, and I hope you have a ton of fun scaling your ad account in 2025. Make sure you leave a like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps with growing the channel. Thank you for all the feedback, for the 5 or 6 viewers that I currently have on this channel, on this brand new channel. I'm going to be posting every single day, trying to go twice a day on this channel as well. So if you enjoyed, like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps out. Otherwise, wherever you are watching this in the world, whatever time, hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll catch you in the next one.